How to incorporate a business in Paraguay. Today, Enzo and I are going to explain how you can incorporate a business in Paraguay. We're going to talk about the different company types that exist in Paraguay. We're going to talk about the process for incorporating a business and the requirements for opening up a bank account. And so if you can please start out telling us what companies exist in Paraguay, and if you can also give us the English version of it.
So to start off, I would like to say that there exists 4 different company types, but today we are going to be talking about 3 of them. The one we are not going to be talking about is called unipersonal. So it's just an individual person that operates all parts of the company. So for example, a carpenter would have this type of company, or a painter or a plumber, just for an individual. And the other 3 of them are SRL, which in English is a LLC, limited liability company. This is typically used for small and medium-sized businesses. The other one is called Sociedad Anónima, and this is used typically for more larger businesses. This has an unlimited maximum of shareholders, as SRL, for example, has up to 25. And the last one, and it's a new one, 5 years ago they invented this type of entity. It's called EAS, or Joint Stock Simplified Entity, and basically it's an online procedure that lets you have a business in 72 hours. It's really innovative and really fast, really convenient, because you don't have that much bureaucracy.
Yeah, one of the things that you mentioned is that the EAS in Spanish, EAS company, is a company that you can open up more easily. You know, we had one client from Brazil who didn't have Paraguayan residency yet. He came here and he wanted to open up a company as quickly as possible. We told him, stop for a moment. You actually have to become a resident before you can open up a company. Yes. This is important. Actually, yes or no, you can open up certain types of companies without residency, but it is contingent on you having a local director, a local person who is in charge, because you're not a resident. So we managed to open up that company for our client. However, we now have to change the name. And so there's an additional process involved. Once you've gotten residency and say, you can't wait, you really want to incorporate this business, you can do it, but you then have to file a change of ownership. Yes. Where you remove the local person altogether. So that's what we need to do. More bureaucracy. Yes, more bureaucracy. Now talk to us about the process for setting up this kind of company. Like you can break it down for each individual company. Let's start out with the EAS company, which is the equivalent of a limited liability company in the US. What does it take to open up this company? What is the exact step-by-step process?
Well, to open an EAS, first and foremost, you need to head to the SAUCE webpage, which is a government-owned webpage. There's a list of requirements such as RUC, which is in Spanish Registro Único de Contribuyente, or tax code for English speakers. You need a identification number as well. And then you need to complete all the questions that this webpage asks, like for example, birth date, who are the people who form the society. So for example, what is the way the constitutive act is made? So for example, is it by a pro form or is it by a public deed? With EAS, you can do it by a pro form, which is why it takes way less. You can also do it an EAS by public deed, but this usually makes the process go a little bit longer. Yeah, you just need to pay the tariffs for it, and you should have your business in 3 days.
Okay, so now you talked about the EAS in Spanish. Yes. In English, EAS. Yes. Company structure. What other company structures are there, and what is the process for opening up a company that is not a private limited company?
So for example, the other one is SA, Sociedad Anónima, and this is used for big businesses here in Paraguay. Well, in this one, you need to create a company with a constitutive act by a public deed. Once you have the company created, you have to publish it it sounds weird, but you have to publish it in newspapers and radio that said company was created. And if within 15 days no one complains about the name, because you have to socialize the name, you can't just go and put Apple SA. Right. So you have to socialize the name via newspapers, and it's typified in the law this. So if no one complains for 15 days, you got your SA. If someone complains, which usually I've never heard this happening, but you just change it and it's done.
So the whole purpose of doing the newspaper advertising is so that you can see whether there's any competitor that has a direct problem with you starting the company. In the US, for instance, you can look up, if you go to the trademarks office, you can look up if a certain name has been trademarked. However, that itself does not guarantee anything, but at least it gives you an indication, hey, if you want to use, for instance, the name Nomad Elite, okay, if we have a trademark registered with the office, and let's say you open up a company in the same category competing with us, then that's going to be a problem. And so anyway, we don't want to talk about that, right? But it seems like there's a little bit interest there for the government to see what the initial response is to your new company. Now, what else is required to open up this, you call it like a giant public company, like what else is required?
Another requirement for this, it would be the payment of all tariffs. Typically it costs around 10 million guaranis to 15 million guaranis, which is around $2,000 more or less. Also, you are subject to regulations of the central bank. So for example, if you are in a finance sector, your SAI is in a finance sector, there's a whole new set of regulations you have to accomplish since it is regulated by the central bank. Yeah, another requirement would be the act of creation. So when the company is created, all the shareholders meet and they decide how many shares, who is going to have how many shares and how much of them, and what functions are they going to do on the company. So also this you have to authenticate. It has to be through a lawyer. That's about it, yes.
Okay, perfect. Now we talked about the limited liability company. You explained that very well. Yeah. The second one was the public company that's mostly used by say a corporation. Maybe an overseas company wants to come to Paraguay to open up a trade representative office. It would work in those kinds of instances, right? Is there any other company structure that our audience should know about?
It's called SRL, Sociedad de Responsabilidad Limitada, or for you English speakers is LLC, Limited Liability Company. It works the same as in any other country. Minimum number of partners is 2 and it's up to 25. It can't be publicly traded.
So it cannot get on the stock market, right? You cannot start selling shares of the company.
No, you can't. Yeah, you have to be an SA for that. It's not regulated by the central bank. It costs around the same as an SA. Some say it's cheaper, but in practice it's probably around the same, 10 million to 15 million guarani. It takes less time than an SA. An SA takes 60 days to get starting, and an LLC takes around 30 to 45 days, maybe even less. And yeah, it has a maximum of 25. I think I already said that, yeah.
No, it's interesting to hear that it takes such a long time to open up a company in Paraguay. I mean, especially the one you just mentioned, whereas in other countries you can open it up in a day or two. It kind of indicates that the process is not very streamlined yet. Yes. And that's fine, right? You want to come to Paraguay, you want less regulation. Guess what? The processes are going to be longer for something like opening up a company, but something that we haven't talked about yet is that you can apply certain types of tricks to, get around things here. That's great. So now let's talk about opening up a company bank account in Paraguay, a corporate bank account. We have talked about this a lot on the channel, that in most cases, you're going to get rejected if you want to open up a bank account and you don't have residency. And online, when you search for it, can I open up a bank account in Paraguay without residency? A lot of sources say yes, you can, but that's not true. You actually get rejected. And as I've pointed out, and I was speaking about the experience we had with a client who opened up a company in Paraguay, and he's not Paraguayan and he didn't have residency. He could do it, but he needed to put down a local person. And after time, he wants to change full ownership to him. So he needs to redo part of the process, which costs money, right? So you can do it, but just be prepared to undergo an additional process or two to make that change happen in the future. Let's talk about the corporate bank accounts. What options are available? What do you need to open up a corporate bank account?
Well, in order to open a corporate bank account, the bank is going to need your Acta of Creación, which is the Creation Act. It's the paper we talked about where the company delineates how much percentage does a shareholder have, what purpose does this person have in the company, and all that stuff. They need a authenticated copy of that. They also need a RUC number, so you have to go to the DENIT, which is the Directorio Nacional de Impuestos y Tributaciones, which is like it would be the SEC and in the United States. And yeah, you need to get your VAT number, your Creation Act. Also, you need the manifestation of all assets the company has. You also need the municipal patent that the municipalities offer and allow you to start operating. And yeah, that's about it. And after all that, the bank will probably ask you to make an X amount of deposit. It's not defined, but I don't think it's that much. Perhaps $2,000 to $5,000.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that holds specifically true for foreign currency accounts.
Yeah.
Like we help clients open up foreign currency accounts here. If you want to get one in US dollars, in euros, in British pounds, these options exist. Now, I think this was very insightful, and hopefully you've learned a lot from this video. If you're interested in incorporating a business here in Paraguay, please book a consultation with us by visiting the link that you see displayed on the screen right now. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to helping you incorporate your first company in Paraguay.